Hello, good evening and welcome to the Winners and Losers show from the LFC Daytrippers. I'm Gav, that's Keith, that's Phil, that's Dicko. 4 winners, 4 losers from the weekend's Premier League games and anything else we can come up with in between. If you're watching, please share, please like, please subscribe, but most importantly, put your comments in there and we'll read out as many as we can as we go. Great to see Phil back. Amazing to see Dicko back after he just told us to piss off for about 3 months. Fair play. And great to see Keith back sporting yet another football top. So Keith,
Gav,
I'm going to throw it out there. If Everton don't get into this fucking conversation in the next hour or so, there's serious issues. I'm going to put it out there. But I'm going to start with you, and I'd like to start with your winner of the week.
My winner of the week is Philippe Coutinho. A controversial one. Look, Phil Coutinho, Liverpool fans, we're all sick of, harking on about let's sign Phil. He's not good enough for us. He's not at our level. He's a player that on his day is capable of the spectacular. And I think landing at a club like Villa is the perfect move for him after a couple of, say, failed moves at Barcelona and Bayern Munich. If you look at Phil Coutinho's numbers at Barcelona, they're not that bad in of themselves, but you have to take the context in of the price tag, the expectations, what he went into, what they became. And it was just an unmitigated disaster. He goes to Villa under a manager that he played with, and who knows how to get the best out of him. And I think they're starting to see what Philippe Coutinho can offer to a table a side at that level of the table, because he'll have good games, he'll have great performances, and then he'll do nothing. But he'll do the good performances every few weeks, and that's enough for a Villa. I've seen a lot of their fans on Twitter saying, that this is what he needed after losing Grealish, and on his day he's better than Grealish. And he does that. Coutinho does that on his day. He's a spectacular player, and he had a great game against Southampton there at the weekend. So I threw him in as my winner of the week, and I'd love to hear what you all think of Big Phil's job that he's doing at Villa.
Dicko, go on before Phil absolutely tells he's the worst Brazilian footballer of all time. What do you think?
I'm loving the Grain Jill comments, by the way, that came up there. That's exactly the first thing that sprung to my mind.
What an intro.
Amazing work, yeah, brilliant. Coutinho, well, I was definitely one of those who didn't want him to come back. I know it kind of split our fan base in a way. I'm always a believer of sort of not really going back to someone, especially someone who kind of, gave up on the club in the way that he did, and look what we've done ever since. But I think, what Keith touches on there, he probably wasn't, look, we're elite now. We are one of the best 2 teams in the Premier League, arguably one of the best 2 or 3 teams in Europe, probably not even arguably at the moment. And he wasn't up to that standard, but fair play to Stevie G. He identified someone who obviously he had a relationship with in the past. He's brought him along. He was at a low ebb in his career. He's come along and he's taken Villa by storm. Really, they absolutely love him. I'd say he is already turning quickly into a heel. And I was just absolutely gutted and throwing fancy football at the weekend, because on the old double game week, that would have been an absolute gift, really. So fair play. I'm happy to see him, doing what he's doing. Obviously we've got Villa coming up in a few weeks' time, so a little bit fearful of what he might be able to do against us, alongside the whole Stevie G factor. But you definitely got him put him down as a winner, because his career was going nowhere, and this has just completely revitalised Philippe Coutinho.
I think, like, for me, I think it was I said it a while ago, I think it was a clever move by Gerrard to bring him in, because instead of spending 50 million quid on that sort of player and having the pressure thrown at you straight away that you spend 50 million on that type of player, he's brought someone in for a loan. I think he might have an option to buy on it.
Yeah.
And it's worked out perfect for him. Well, it has so far. You know, he's X amount of goals, X amount of assists so far, and he seems to be playing well. And Gerrard's not silly. He's not going to come in there and say to Philippe Coutinho, listen, you have to play left wing and you have to run up and down all day, because he knows that won't happen. So he's trying to build a side around him, and he's trying to replicate a little bit of what Grealish used to do at Villa, in that, you know, the position that he takes up and the responsibility he has on the ball, and probably a lack of responsibility off it. I think it's worked well for him so far. It'd be interesting to see in the summer if he does actually go and sign him, because I reckon you get him for next to nothing in the summer, just to get the wage bill out of there at Barcelona. If they can afford to pay him the wages, that's another element to it. But overall, he's had a really good start at Villa. They were going through a bit of a rocky patch over the last probably 5-6 weeks. They picked it up a little bit now, and that win at the weekend, doing the world of good. I think he's been really good for them. Phil?
That's great, yeah. It's Villa. They're 11th place, and they won their last 2 in a row. They're a nothing team. He's a nothing player. It's great that he won. He doesn't. After the weekend of football that was, he doesn't even deserve to be mentioned in winners and losers tonight. He's
more wild, so shut up.
No, just being straight. He doesn't deserve it. He did. What's he done? 50 million.
At the
50
weekend.
million quid.
At the weekend, how many does he score at the weekend?
Who knows? Who cares?
I don't know if he scores any. Did he score? I think he got a couple of assists.
Goal and assist.
Goal and assist. Yeah,
and played really well. So that's how he's the winner of the weekend.
But that's the thing. Like, he's a player that, look, I think we all agree, Dicko hit the nail on the head. You know, we don't want them back. We've moved on. I can't understand the clamour for Liverpool fans to want the player back. It's just interesting to see when he does get a goal or an assist that there is still that sort of, we could get him for 15 million. You know, you wouldn't take him back. He wouldn't work in there.
That's because, Keith, there's a bunch of gone-being Liverpool fans.
Oh, yeah.
They can't let the past go, and would still sign Gerrard back if they had the chance and put him straight into the team, right? So, like, there's no point. You just ignore them and let them just drift off to become Everton fans and play in the underwater stadium, because like, ultimately, Coutinho was finished when he went to Bayern Munich, and I'm talking as a top tier player, as a fella that's at the very top levels, right? He looks like a player. He looks what he is. He's a good player in a mid-table side, right? He's the type of player that if he came along now, you go, Jesus, I wonder if he'd be decent at a top side. But then you look at other games and go, nah, he wouldn't. Like, Laszlo Panaflex there, Eriksen did more this weekend than Coutinho in my book. And he's not in my winners either. So, but I'm just for me, I think if you like, I just don't know. He's exactly what you expect him to be. He's nothing better. He's nothing more. And I would never have him as a winner, because ultimately the way he carried on to get out of the club.
That's you not letting go of the past.
Yeah. Would you take Suarez back?
Would I take Suarez back? Not now. Not at this stage. No.
Would you have taken Suarez back 2 years ago?
2 years ago, yeah, before we put the squad that we had together.
Okay, so it's worse that he done as bad to Liverpool as what Philippe Coutinho.
Yeah, but he's a better footballer.
But that's not the point.
Yeah, so then it's
no, it is the point.
No, the point you've made is that because, you know, always this and he's that and what he done and stuff like that. Suarez done worse.
Listen, Suarez is still a better player. So would he bring something? Or
that wasn't the argument, though.
It is the argument.
It wasn't, though.
It is.
It might be now. We can have that argument now, but it wasn't. It wasn't a few minutes ago.
Doesn't make a difference.
You were going on about him and where he went and what he done and stuff like that.
Because I can't. These players, it'd be like, would you say Lanzini, the West Ham fella, winner of? No, you wouldn't. You'd have a good game and that'd be it. Like, winners should be fellas who are very special and something.
His team got beaten and he missed the sitter. It certainly won't be winner of the week.
But he's the equivalent of Coutinho. What was Coutinho doing since he signed? Because I think the only game they'd won up until they beat Brighton and Hove Albion last week was Everton, and everyone beats Everton.
Scores his debut against United.
Yeah, comes off the bench, a goal and
didn't win though.
I think someone made a good point. Someone made a good point in the comments. Essentially, he was kind of almost a catalyst for us to go on and win these trophies, because off the back of it, you're buying Alisson and Van Dijk essentially within a very short space of time. So I think in some strange ways we've got a lot to be thankful for that he did force that move out to Barcelona, and we did get the 100 million plus that eventually leads to a completely different path than if he would have stayed at the club in some ways, you know. So like
Red Steve says quite right, Phil. Coutinho was a snake and did the dirty on us. However, he's getting me points in the FPL. So fuck it. Lanzini is my winner of the week for that miss, says Chris Brack.
There you go.
So there you go. But listen, taking away what happened at Liverpool, and he was going nowhere at Barca at the knee injuries. People were even doubting, like, you know, could he turn up and play football? That's at one stage. He's gone there. He has, I don't know how many goals he has now. Four goals, maybe 4 or 5 assists.
3 goals and 3 assists in 7 games.
And he looks like he's fitting in, and I think it's been a good signing for them, because I think it's, like I said, it's one of those where there's not a hell of a lot of risk involved, and if anyone knows what he can get out of Coutinho, it's probably Gerrard, you know, sort of way. Dicko, go on, give us your loser of the week, Dicko. And if it's not Everton, we're in trouble here.
It's not Everton. I mean, I didn't even consider that they would. Can I just
read the stat out? Can I just read the stat out that came up earlier? I actually showed it to you. But Everton on the 7th of March currently have 4 more points than Liverpool got in their Champions League group. So that's where they are at the minute. But sorry, Dicko, your loser of the week.
Yeah, no, like they are like a last minute shout really. I mean, it could actually happen. Like it's starting to look. They're so bad at the back that it's starting to look a real possibility, especially if Burnley start win.
Dicko's freezing here.
Free.
Yeah. Dicko's on the door.
You got me.
Dicko,
you got me.
Yeah.
Turn the power on in the cabin.
No.
Still freezing.
Yeah.
Reese, am I back now?
Yeah, you're back.
There we go. Let's have a crack.
Right,
he's on the
Quick, get your loser of the week out, will you, before you go dead again?
Right, my loser for the weekend is Watford.
Okay.
And the reason for that, really, apart from the fact that they just don't look like they're going to escape relegation, is like, what the hell have they done by appointing Roy Hodgson as manager? I mean, it's just the fella's come out of retirement. Essentially. I mean, what is he now? 72, 73 years of age or something? I mean, he looks completely and utterly out of his... Like, he looks like he's completely lost the plot at this point. I don't understand why Watford would have turned. I mean, there's a lot of why did Everton turn to Frank Lampard. You can at least see there's a little bit of ambition in that. What ambition is there in bringing Roy Hodgson to the table? You know, halfway through the season, they've gone through so many managers over the last few years, and I think this one is absolutely going to blow up. So I think Watford, unfortunately, I think if they would have gone for a better manager, they could easily have got out of it. They've got they've certainly got goals in the team, but I just think Watford are the big losers this weekend. Apart from, you know, the way the results have gone and whatnot, I think they've consigned themselves to relegation for me.
Yeah.
Do you know what? Like, I think they're down. I just don't think they have enough. But the only thing that's interested me in Watford is they start the season with a manager and they replace him with Ranieri. Okay? Yeah. And then they replace Ranieri with Hodgson. I'm actually wondering, will they end up with 4 managers in one season? And they get rid of... Like, what I mean is, if they're not winning games, right? and by some miracle, everyone around them isn't winning games, and they're like, say, 4 points from safety with 7 games to go. So we're looking in, 4 or 5 games time, and they haven't won another fucking game, and they still, we're only 4 points off safety here because everyone else is shit. I'm wondering, do they ditch Hodgson and bring someone else in and go, listen, we'll go for the last 4 games. It'll be 4 managers in one season. Like, Keith, they're just mental, aren't they? Like, they seem to come up, get a load of players, bring them in, give the manager about 10 games, 12 games, you're out the fucking door. Next fella in, give him another 10 games, you're out the door, and move on to the third fella. And there's just no rhyme or reason to what they're trying to do.
They're one of the most bizarrely run clubs in the world, for me, Watford. And you wouldn't think you don't think of Watford when you're thinking of interesting teams, but the way their owners go through managers, it's absolutely madness. And the amount of players that they seem to bring through that club in a season, like they've geezers playing centre back there yesterday, Samir and that. And I'm like, who the fuck is this? Who's this? Who's the fullback? I know that the fullback's only a new guy that comes in. But the churn of players, there's never going to be that consistency. They seem to want to throw shit at the wall and hope that a bit of it sticks. Now, Dicko touched on it there. Their strike force, Emmanuel Dennis, he starts off really well this season. They have the other fella, what's his name?
They have Saab, but he keeps getting injured. I mean, that's a big blow.
Dennis is the best player by a mile.
Yeah, but they've your man Chucho Hernandez as well, getting overhead kicks. They've got players. They had, in years gone by, they had the likes of Ricardo Pereira, Gerard Delafeu. They've all these players, but they can never get any consistency or stability. Now, I know a yo-yo club, you're not going to get stability. But Norwich, for example, went down, kept their manager, came back up. A lot of the same squad, 1 or 2 players, they're sure I'm not using them as some sort of a barometer for excellence or anything, but they kept a sense of stability. Watford is just an absolute mess. I don't know how much they're spending on compensation packages for managers and coaches because they fucking churn through loads of them.
I'm wondering if they're all in there. I'm wondering if they're all in there on like a 1-year rolling contract.
Yeah.
And if they want to get rid of it, they'll only pay they're probably only paying you fucking 6 months' wages or something like that. Phil, they're mental. And you should really like this, to be perfectly honest with you. But
I was going to say, none of this surprises me.
But there's yo-yo clubs, Phil, and then there's clubs that just do their best to go back down. It's not even like they're trying and they go back down, they come back up. These boys come up and just do their best to spend whatever they have and then go back down. It's mental.
No, I think again, you're all being racist. Basically, right, the Pozzos have tried to implement the Italian style of club ownership model onto an English club, and they're following through and they're sticking true to their beliefs. If the manager loses or is crap after 5 games, he gets sacked. There's a good chance. Who was the fella who was in charge at the start of the season?
Cisco. They're probably still paying him and have him on a retainer. It's what they do in Italy.
Well,
they keep
that's what I was going to say, Keith.
If
They get a pain in their hole with Hodgson, there's a good chance that Cisco will get back in a job before the end of the season because he's still on the wage bill and will be paid out to the end of the season. Because that's what they do. And to be fair, that's what they did with Udinese in Italy as well. And they're following the exact same model. Your man Gino Pozzo, who's the owner, is the son of Gianpaolo Pozzo, the Udinese owner, and Gino originally set up the scouting network, etc., for Udinese back in the mid-90s. So they send the players between Granada, Watford, and Udinese, and that's how they generate money. That's how they're generating sales. They use it as they're using Watford as a transfer window club. And really, this is why I said we should have football in the world back, because I could bring all this knowledge to football in the world and it'd be much better crack.
We just don't have time. Yus says Watford should give it to Big Sam until the end of the week. But they're just absolutely mad. Someone said they go through more managers than done stars. It's just fucking I wouldn't mind if they come up and spent nothing and said, just have a go, and if you're not good, we get rid of you, and we just see if we can manage. But they spend money. They actually spend money, and then they just go down and they go, we're going to get rid of all these now. And then they try to get rid of them all, and then they bring in more lads, and they get back up after a season or two, and they just rinse and repeat.
Well, come here, is the parachute money being reduced or changed or something?
No, it's staying, I think, for another 2 seasons.
Right.
Because we were talking about this the other week, and I think it was Laura Duffy in the chat said that no, it was being kept for, I think it's this season and next season.
Or a half.
I think it was in agreement with the EFL because of it might be because of the COVID situation where they've just said, right, we have to keep it.
But for Hodgson, go back to Ray's point for Hodgson. Hodgson normally wins 33% of the games, no matter where he goes, no matter how good the team is, no matter how bad it is, right? His ratio isn't working at Watford this time. If he was to manage to win 33% of the games that he has left, they'd stay up. That's how bad everyone else is around him.
Yeah. It is, and it's annoying. It's annoying because in a year where are so vulnerable they could easily go down, they might be saved by the fact that, you know, it's a season where the likes of Norwich and Watford are kicking about and they're just so bad. You know, it's interesting to me who's going to be that third team. Is it going to be Burnley? Is it going to be Everton? Is it going to be, you know, a Brentford going to get sucked down there because, you know, they can't pick up points on a consistent basis, although obviously they had the big win this weekend against Norwich, but whenever they come up against any half decent side, they struggle. So it is annoying because this does feel like, you know, Everton could potentially go down, but they might just get out of jail a bit, like a la sort of Wimbledon last game of the season type of thing. All them years back when they almost went down.
Barry Horn and the lads.
Yeah, and the lads, big.
It's only 4 points between Watford and Leeds.
Yeah.
Like
I think
not much.
If I'm Everton, I'm not looking at Watford and Norwich. I'm looking at Burnley and Leeds and trying to come out on top of them. But it's just.
If I'm Everton, I'm looking in the mirror and I'm having a long hard look at what's going wrong. We'll get on to them, I'm sure someone has to have them.
We will, yeah, because I've left the spot free in my picks. I'm delighted I did. Phil, winner of the week.
Oh, jeez. What did I say? I can't remember, Gav. That was a long time ago when I sent them to you. And
well, just look up what you sent me.
Hang on, I'll go away. This is great.
Can I just say one thing before Phil gets his topic? I'm pleased to hear that the points dropped, or you know, the loss that Everton had against Man City could be the thing that sends them down, but at the same time the thing that costs us the league.
Yeah,
I don't know if that's a sufficient consolation prize for not winning the league this season.
Well, do you know what? For them, if we didn't win the league, even if they got relegated, for them.
They'll take it.
They'll celebrate that as winning the league. They don't want money getting relegated because they'll see that as the points that helped City win the league, and they can go and celebrate and have a big piss up in the pub like they did when we played Real Madrid. Or
wouldn't put it past them. Wouldn't put it past seeing those videos.
Yeah. Anyway, sorry, Gav. Arsenal for me, right?
Okay.
And. You know, I've given Arsenal a hard time, and to be honest with you, they're shite. But like, they're the best of the shite bunch at this moment in time. You look, I didn't realize how many games in hand they have, and like, to be fair, United are fucking cap melogen, right? And it's just they are poison. They're poison. But Arsenal are now starting to win against the shite teams that they should win against, and not worry about the games against the better teams that they never win. So they're starting to work out what they need to do. And when we're at this point of the season and you're on 45 points they're on at the moment, or 46 points or whatever it is,
Arsenal,
48 points, and you're fourth, and you probably have about 3 points of a comfort blanket against you and Spurs, I think, who are probably logically their challenger for that fourth spot, because United aren't going to be anywhere near them come the end of the season.
United and West Ham have played 28 games, where Arsenal have only played 25 and Spurs 26, and there's only 3 points, I think, between
Arsenal's 3 games. Arsenal's 3 games in hand are Liverpool at home, Chelsea away, Spurs away.
Wow,
we seen that last night.
Yeah, but like, to be fair, no, Gav, the problem I have with picking Arsenal's winners, their fan base are a bunch of spas, so I can't be dealing with them, right? Like, seriously, the chat that you posted something earlier on, and they're saying that Liverpool don't have the facilities, like what they don't have training facilities, they don't have showers to sign Arsenal players, they don't have money to sign the Arsenal players. Madness. Like they're living in a land of confusion with the stuff that they're going on with. But at the same time, having a look at it, I think that what Arteta is managing to do is slowly build something. Like he's the Spanish Brendan Rodgers. Do you know what I mean? Like he's managing to get the points out of the squad that's there. And he's got a good core of good young players that are going to be basically turn into really good players at other clubs when they get sold to them. But yeah, the winner, if they get into fourth, who knows, they might be able to go out and sign a load more young players and be able to keep them there the following year. So yeah, I'm delighted for them. 48 points at this point of the season after 25 games. It's they put themselves in a chance for fourth, and it'd be a big win for them if they manage to get into the Champions League. It says as much like looking at Spurs tonight. Obviously, I couldn't put Spurs in because they're one of they have a good chance of getting. To me, I think Spurs, if they can hit a run of form between now and the end of the season, probably pip Arsenal to that fourth spot. Right? They have a better manager, and they probably have a better goal threat in Harry Kane. Up front and Son as well, and that's probably the big difference. I'd still like at the back, they're equally as dodgy. Like their two goalkeepers are both really dodgy. Their defenses are both really dodgy. They concede goals. So ultimately, I just think they're probably Conte's going to have Spurs better coached than Arsenal. But fair play to Arteta for giving them a chance at getting this fourth place spot.
Usually when it's fourth place, you're averaging 2 points a game. That's what you need. They're just currently under that. I'm not a fan of Arteta. I'm quite open about that. I just think he's a bit of a spacer. Like, just especially when the grounds were empty, the game was going on and he was standing looking up into stands and all. It was a bit mad. What I will say from him is, my biggest problem with Arteta is that I don't think he was brave enough at the start of his Arsenal career. You know, he was creating these kind of formations and things where people go, "Oh, look at him, isn't he different thinking?" And we're like, no, he doesn't trust the players that are there, so he's playing his left back at centre back and he's doing stuff like that. And some people can say, you know what, credit to him for doing it. That's fair. But what I found from him was he started getting a little bit tetchy. Then he started moaning about stuff, and he seemed a bit weak to me. But what I will give him is, what he's done with Aubameyang is absolutely bang on. Because Aubameyang signs a contract, and forget if he's out of form or he's not bothering his arse. But Aubameyang was actively going out and pissing off the Barcelona for the weekend and heading here for the weekend and saying he was going to collect his mar and all this, right? And he just had enough and went, no, he's not playing. End of story. And left him there. And that was a huge call from him because Aubameyang was club captain. He was their top scorer. You know, he's their main man. And he absolutely done that. What you're finding with Arteta now
left on a free as well.
He left on a free because of the massive money that he's on. And the Barcelona wouldn't pay a fee and the wages, I suppose. But like, you have to give Arteta some credit. But when I look around him, I'm thinking to myself, like, United are a mess, right?
Yeah.
West Ham shouldn't really be up there, but they've had a good season. Spurs, like, we spent an awful lot of this season kind of going, what the fuck are they at? Do you know the sort of way? And Chelsea yourselves and City are just way ahead. He has to get fourth. He has to get fourth. And I was only saying this a couple of weeks ago to an Arsenal. I was on a show with an Arsenal fan, and he was saying, what do you think we should get? And I said, they have to get fourth place, because if they don't, with the state that United are in, Spurs to an extent, West Ham being your other main threat, if they don't get it, it's a failure. And on top of that, this thing you were talking about with the tweet earlier with the video about Saka and Liverpool and stuff like that, my whole thing on it is, if Arsenal don't make top four, I think he's in trouble for a start. But I promise you, if they don't make top four, somebody's going to come in there and go, right, Martinelli, Saka, and maybe one or two others, and they just take them away. Because I don't care how much Bukayo Saka is quoted as saying, oh, I've only dreamed of playing for Arsenal. Listen, when they're coming around and there's a World Cup coming and you're not in the Champions League, forget it. You'll be just out the door. So I have to give some credit to Arteta. But again, I think you're right, Phil. He's not winning big games, but he's starting to find that Arsenal trend over the last 10 years anyway, where they'd literally, the 26 games against those bottom 13, they'd win a vast majority of them and get into a top four. They're starting to get back to that. But looking beyond that for them, I think is a little bit premature.
But just to echo your point about the the younger players, and you know they won't go even if they get top 4. Arsenal's history is selling their best players all the time.
Yeah,
that's what they do. They're a club that's designed to develop players and then sell them for as much money as possible. You look at all the players that left. Henry, you look at what was your man Van Persie when he went to United. Van Persie goes at the peak of his thing, and that's when Arsenal were competitive. We're not talking about an Arsenal team that had fallen away. They were still Champions League, so they still had hopes of winning the league. Like the year Leicester win the league, Arsenal should win that league. That was Arsenal's league that they threw away. They were by far the best team in the league and had this run in February and March, which just absolutely destroyed any chance they had to win the league that year. But they were by far the best team. I'm not saying they weren't the best team over the course of the season, but in terms of performances and what they could do, they were the best side in the league that year. And you know they just threw it away. And this is Arsenal now. Their fan base reminds me of our fan base when we started this podcast in 2013, because their heads are. It's all over the shop.
Arsenal's big test now will come against us on the 16th of March. If Arsenal show up there and beat Liverpool, you go, do you know what? That's probably a bit of a corner they've turned, because they don't usually win these games. Liverpool are going for a title, so, you know, Liverpool will want to win it. But we'll have to wait and see. But he does deserve some credit, but I think they're over-egging themselves a little bit. And listen, it's not the first time it's happened. We've seen Liverpool over-egg themselves. United do it every time they get a fucking win at this stage. You know, so it's not like it's just an Arsenal illness they have. Everyone over-eggs themselves at the small, in the hope that they're right, that, look, is this a corner we've turned? But we'll have to wait and see with them. Dicko, Arsenal, what do you make of them?
Yeah, they have to, as being said, they have to finish 4th. Massive chance for them. Spurs... Okay, they've had a couple of good wins, but they'll always throw in the unexpected, you know, mad results. You know, get beat when you expect them to win. United are a shambles. You know, you can't see them realistically coming 4th. You know, it's theirs for the taking. They've got 4th. If they really got something about them, they won't relinquish 4th now. Despite the fact that they've got a tricky run in. They've got to win that game against Spurs. Anything they get against Liverpool, I suppose, would be a bonus for them. But no, I mean, they've been quietly kind of chipping away, haven't they? They've flew a little bit under the radar. Obviously, they had the really slow start to the season. I mean, they were bottom, weren't they?
They lost the 4th trade, I think. Yeah,
they were bottom. They were a bit of a laughing stock, really. And you know, they've sort of picked themselves up off the floor, and they've really quietly sort of gone about the business. I know the fans, you know, would be one of the most vocal out there, you know, on sort of social media and whatnot. But no, they've been decent, and the Aubameyang thing, like that could just pay back in spades. You know, like, you know, for them to get into the Champions League off the back of, you know, quite a. You know, it's the type of thing that you have to do in business as well. You know, sometimes you have to cut out that bad egg for the betterment of a business or the team or whatever it is. You know, it was absolutely the right thing to do. And, you know, if they get in the Champions League, who knows? You know, we've seen this before with teams, you know, sort of dark horses, teams that kind of catch others unaware, you know, your Ajax, your Atalantas, you know, teams can do something. They could go on a little run. Not saying they could win the Champions League, but they certainly do some damage in Europe. So, and obviously they've not got any distractions as well. That's the other thing, you know. It's Champions League or bust for them, isn't it?
Yeah, they've literally like one game a week, really. You know, because once the games in hand clear up, which they will do fairly soon, I think, for them, they literally just have a game every weekend. You know, so
it's a lighter workload. It's much easier to plan around. Yep. You should have less injuries in theory. You know, you've got one focus, one sole focus, and if they don't get 4th, they've only got themselves to blame. Really, it'll be a proper bottle job, I think.
Keith, I think we're all in agreement here. Like, if they have to get top 4. They just have to. The position they're in, they're sitting there. Okay, Spurs have a good win tonight. But when all's said and done, the closest team I think Spurs can go to 48 points as well, can they? or 51 maybe with their games in hand. Have you got it in front of you there?
Spurs can go to 51 if they win their 2 games on the teams that have played 28.
Yeah.
Arsenal can
currently sit on 48.
They're on 48.
And one of those
so
games is against.
they've,
So really, when you think about it, you don't even know if Spurs are a threat here, because one of those games is against Spurs. One of those games in hand. So realistically, they're getting a 3-game head start here, starting off level with United with 11 to go or 10 to go. That's basically what they're getting. It has to be fourth, Keith. There's no doubt about it.
The thing with Arsenal, Phil touched on it, was they'll beat the shite they're expected to beat, and that's what they're beating at the moment. Do you know what I mean? They're getting wins and everyone's losing their shit about them and talking them up. Yeah, you can only beat what's in front of you. You know, for years, Arsenal get found out by Big Sam and any team he'd manage, or Burnley, or any of these teams that had put up to them. They'd lose their bollocks and they'd be gone. This Arsenal team looks good. Now, it's a flawed squad. There's holes in that team still for me. And I think the whole fourth spot this season, it was like when Spurs got beaten in the Champions League final by us and fell off a cliff. There's a worry that Arsenal could, if they miss out on it again, I'm not going to say fall off a cliff, but they could lose one of them young players. I mean, Emile Smith-Rowe, there was talk of him going to Villa in the summer. Do you know what I mean? Villa were sniffing around him and were trying to buy him. Now, there shouldn't be an instance where Villa can go in and even get it in the bleeding media that they're trying to sign Arsenal's best young prospect. Do you know what I mean? Like, that shouldn't happen. But they are always susceptible to getting picked off. Now, I think Spurs will nick the fourth place because of the point Phil said. They have a better manager and they do have the goal threat. Arsenal, it's all around these young players. You know, you've got Emile Smith-Rowe, you've got Martin Odegaard, you've got Bukayo Saka, you've got Gabriel Martinelli, you've got then the likes of Kieran Tierney's a good player, but they've got a lot of flaws in their squad, and I think that'll catch up with them in these games in hand. They're all big games, and it's what they can do. I could realistically see them getting 0 out of them. Do you know what I mean? And then the landscape might change for Arsenal. The thing about fucking Arteta, I think he'd be a great director of football, because he's going in there and he's making all the hard decisions. Guendouzi gone, bad egg. Aubameyang gone, bad egg. Anyone that speaks out, they're gone, they're fucked out. He's not afraid to make them decisions. But he's too emotional in the in-game. He's very like Pep. He overthinks things to the detriment of himself and his team. Remember, we played him at Anfield and there was an innocuous challenge on the side. What was it, Sadio? Someone went to hit Sadio or something, and Klopp let a roar at him, and he started bleeding, running amok, and the whole crowd picked her up, and Liverpool went up several gears, and it was like he poked the bear and it came back to bite him. I think he's still like Pep in that. I don't think he's good at maybe the mental side of it at the moment, but I think he'd be an excellent director of football. But I just think it'll come down to Conte will have Spurs better drilled and they'll get more points, and the likes of the head-to-head with Arsenal could be key. But it'd be interesting to see what way it goes. Arsenal, fair play, they're doing well, but they're winning games they really should be winning.
Yeah,
and making hard work of it. They were 3-1 up against Watford and goes to 3-2, and it's like,
how many times do you reckon you could poke a bear before he'd rip you apart? Like, you got a stick.
Half
it depends. Where are you? Like, are you behind the bear? You're going up a hill? Because I'd say it'll take him a while to turn, but when he gets that speed, he could catch you. You'd have to.
How big is the stick?
Bears are immensely fast creatures, and they can climb trees.
Yeah, but listen, let's be
run up hills?
Right. You'd want to be some fucking idiot to start poking a bear, wouldn't you?
Absolutely.
But where does the saying come from? Like, think about it, everyone says it.
Well, I think it's a case of like.
Go ahead.
Poking the bear, I think it's a kind of like you're just being a sap. You know what I mean? I think that's what it means. It's like,
I'd like to be seeing the lads who are there.
What are you doing hanging around the bear anyway?
Yeah.
First of all, why are you going out looking for bears?
Poke
and then if you see one just by chance, what the fuck would you be doing poking?
I'm trying to go over and poke him to see if he gets angry.
Or do you know what? How many times could I poke this fella before he just loses the plot? Leave the bears alone. You're out your
I'm
league.
giving me opinion on how to outrun a bear. There is not a chance I can outrun a bear. I couldn't outrun a sloth. Never mind the bear. So if I'm poking a bear, I'm fucked.
The
I'm
only thing
gone.
is, do you reckon you could outrun a bear in a kind of alleyway setting? You know where there's quick turns left and right all the time. Do you reckon you could outrun them that way?
I don't think you can, because those bears are like,
They can move.
they're viciously aggressive, and they're also very agile.
Carl Donovan says poking the bear is just being a sap. James Joyce.
True.
No, look, what I'm saying is, like, don't get me wrong, up a hill, fucking in their natural habitat, they're gonna get you. What I'm saying is, if you were in like right, imagine you're on the set of Coronation Street and there's a couple of alleyways in there, right? And you have to run from the Rovers Return down to Roy's Rolls through a series
that's like
of
a full street of an alley.
But what I'm saying is, just imagine there's left and right in there.
Eventually.
Right?
Yeah.
Do you reckon? All right, listen. He only has a certain amount of time to get you from the start to the finish line. After that, you have to say to the bear, "Listen, bear, he fucking made it. Leave him alone." Right? Do you reckon if there was a series of left and right turns through that you could outrun the bear?
No, I reckon you lose your nerve and you start panicking because the bear is literally running at you and he's running, moving bins and wheelie bins and all, not a bother, and you're shitting yourself. You make the wrong choice. You decide to hide behind one of the wheelie bins. You're gone.
Red Steve says you don't have to outrun the bear, just outrun you and me. But no, anyway, I don't know where the bear stuff. But anyway, I don't know. Through a series of alleyways, I think you might have a chance against a bear.
Think about the forest. The forest is like a nature's alleyways. It's like it's full of trees and branches.
They're
and
just running over trees. They're just fucking running straight through them. They don't give a fuck.
Yeah, if you're running and you see a thorn bush, you're like, "Oh, I'm not going through them thorns." The bear's going through the thorns, not a bother.
Yeah. You're going to hesitate at the look of a thorn bush, and then he's just going to fucking
stingers. There's a lot of stingers there.
Is right. If a bear runs at you or stands up on you, you're meant to stand back at it and stare it down. Now, I reckon there's not many humans still alive that have tried that method of escape. Rawr, rawr. Yeah. So either two things will happen: either work because the bear's looking on.
A bear can run 35 miles an hour.
Okay, now.
So you're not even outrunning it in a fucking small car.
You're not getting to the alleyway, Gav. You're just not getting to the alleyway. You're gone.
You can't afford a straight run. I think you have to do everything to avoid that straight run.
Like with crocodiles are very fast in a straight line, right? So the method of getting away from a crocodile is to run in a sort of exaggerated zigzag motion.
Yeah, but where the fuck? A crocodile isn't chasing you on land, is he?
He is, yeah.
They don't really give a bollocks when they come out of the water. They're not arsed, really.
I'd say if they think
throw
they
a
can
few
get
shapes
you,
and then you head
you.
back. Imagine you're being chased by a bear on the set. Imagine you being chased by a bear on the set of El Dorado in 1993. What do you reckon will happen? Says Gav. Anyway, what am I on to? Oh, it's on to me. What am I doing? I'm doing loser of the week. I'm not doing Everton. I'm doing Roy Keane as my loser of the week because I'm actually watching this guy morph into what Sky want him to be. So, what are you laughing at?
Red Steve.
Oh, he says wave your cock at it to assert dominance. Yeah, you could do that.
Yeah, he dies of laughing.
But anyway, loser of the week, Roy Keane. When Roy Keane started out at Sky, I liked him. I thought he was real honest. He was straight down the line. He didn't get, he just told it as it was. Now, I think he kind of does still do that. But I've watched over the last couple of weeks, and I'm not a big watcher. People know I'm not a big watcher of, pre-game stuff, post-game stuff, half-time stuff. I literally watch the game. Half-time, I'll go away, and I'll come back for the second half. I don't watch a lot of them. But I've happened to catch Roy Keane, I think it was after the Leeds versus United game, where United win 4-2, and he's going on about the quality United and, the fight in them and, they should get top 4 if they keep up this and they do this and I think they can and blah, 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 whatever he was saying. And I kind of went, yeah, fair enough. If they do that, they'll be grand, Roy. And then when you watched them yesterday getting absolutely handballed around by Man City, let's be perfectly honest, And Roy Keane is sitting there and he's shouting about they're looking at their hair and they're looking to see if they look good and their social media and this and I'm kind of going, well, hold on, Roy. What has changed in the last 3 weeks that you think United have gone from this really good, in tune team that they haven't been in I don't know how many years to what you're seeing yesterday? And I enjoyed Roy Keane because he just called it as he's seen it, right? And I'm starting to look, and the best thing or the worst thing for me now with him is, he's starting to be reactive of each situation, and he's starting to actually contradict himself when he's talking. And it shouldn't annoy me, but when I looked at the weekend, I went, this is why I don't watch it, because he's probably one of the last ones where you went, he'll just tell you as it is. He will tell you how it is as it is, and he's not now. I think he's actually saying stuff for the sake of saying stuff. So I have to make him the loser of the week this week. Roy Keane. Keith. Roy Keane.
Yeah. I sort of know where you're getting at with this one, Gav, because Roy Keane, when he goes on a mad one, it is great to watch and it's great to listen to. But there's this double act now with Micah Richards that's after happening. And, nothing against Micah Richards. He's a happy fella. But he's laughing in Roy Keane's face when Roy Keane is saying things and Roy Keane isn't reacting. So to me, it looks very forced. Do you know what I mean? Like, when you're seeing Keane and Carragher having the Barney after, was it the Liverpool game when we bet them 5-0? He was talking about Ronaldo and, why did you bring him back, blah, blah. And it was pretty fiery, you know what I mean? Whereas you now have, like, Micah Richards laughing, outrageous laugh at every little thing, and Keane's not really. I think it is more for show now. I think it's very much playing to the audience, and it loses a lot of its luster. I mean, they all do it. Gary Neville was an excellent pundit when he started. He's fallen off a cliff. Jamie Carragher fallen off a cliff because they fall into the trap before them. I was looking back at Andy Gray and Richard Keys on something. It was on the telly on something. Them two are on Sky. And you think, but I always fucking hated them now, I have to be honest. But you think back to how powerful they were before they got fucked out with Dodge as well. There's an air of, celebrity, or I don't know what way to describe it. Yeah, celebrity that these pundits get, you know what I mean? It's all known. And I think they lose sight of giving insight. And look, I know Dicko and Phil are huge American football fans, and you can see that with some of the American football commentators as well. Like Tony Romo from the Dallas Cowboys went in and was an excellent commentator. Troy Aikman sort of jobbed along for a few years, but this year Troy Aikman starts talking shit about other quarterbacks that he wouldn't have done, and you reckon it's to get a payday because he saw how much Romo was earning, and Romo was the big dog. So I think the football pundits are sort of, they're playing a character now, and it loses a bit of its appeal and a bit of its luster for me. And I think Keane is falling down that trap. G10 says as soon as the Sky's best pundit, and I agree with that 100%.
Yeah, well, I don't watch a lot of them, but I just find Keane is even his comments about when Carragher said, "Well, have you bought Ronaldo to win the cup?" And he was like, well, that's where they are, that's where they're at. But he wasn't saying that at the start of the season. And someone says Neville rubbed off on him. I think that's actually a really good point. Dicko, Roy Keane, what do you reckon?
Look, I don't watch an awful lot of these post-match rants and at this stage, because you kind of know what's coming. I think basically they've all become part of the entertainment package, shall we say. They've all become sort of... They're all sort of carving out a little role for themselves. They're a set. They'll take a certain viewpoint, and it will be very much reactionary, kind of almost clickbaitish. I mean, how many clicks will Roy Keane's sort of 2 minutes or 3 minutes have had around Twitter? And it's all grabbing attention on the likes of Twitter, and it's putting, I guess it's putting Sky in a position of prominence, and I think that's probably almost Sky's agenda at this point. That's the direction that they've gone in. I don't get. I know a lot of people get wound up about Carragher now. Like, I just let it go over my head because, you know, I kind of get the fact that he's trying to. You know, these lads must be briefed about, you know, if X happens, if Y happens, you know, what angle are we going to come from and all this sort of stuff. So, you know, I don't give an awful lot to it anymore, to be honest with you. It's, as I say, I've started switching off almost immediately when games finish now at this point, because, you know, I don't buy this whole, you know, the hot takes and
it doesn't come across as informative anymore, does it, that Dicko?
No, not like it used to.
It's
like,
not insightful. Like, it's just.
I used to, you know, hang on for a good half an hour and listen to what some of these pundits would say. You know, I did find it would help you understand some of the things that had happened in the game, but they've definitely moved away from it, and it's all about sensationalism now. It's not about, you know, the nuts and bolts, or in American football, as they call it, the X's and O's. I mean, it's literally just about sensationalism now. So, and it does nothing for me.
Phil, as a man famed for not watching a hell of a lot of football and definitely stuff before and after games, like, is it a case of them just being it's an entertainment thing now rather than an insight?
Gav, it's why I don't watch any of it. It's all bollocks. Like, you see stuff going, oh, look at the insight that Neville and Carragher have. They haven't. They talk shite. One's a failed manager, right? If he was any good, he'd be in a coaching staff somewhere. The other fella's hasn't got the bollocks to try it, and he's not bringing any insight to the games. Like the one thing that's missing from English football nowadays, like the guys, even the co-commentators, used to be there to give the viewer the insight as to what tactically teams are doing, or how the things are set up, or what way the play is going to develop, or what they're trying to do, and this type of stuff. None of that exists anymore. There's no insight being given. There's no breakdown of what's going on in the game. There's nothing being provided to viewers outside of, oh, that's controversial. Offside, onside. Isn't this great? And then look at this stuff here. That used to be what Man United is about. Nobody cares. None of that matters. None of it matters. Tell me what's going on. Tell me why stuff is breaking down. And not with this euphemistic bollocks that's going, why didn't you chase him? Why didn't you chase him? If you can't put across a reason as to why potentially a player isn't chasing somebody because tactically they might have a different type of setup, or they might have some type of zonal pattern defense, or a different way of things are closing down, and it's breaking down structurally, and this is why it's breaking down, and that's what people want to see, not this creche nursery version of this is insight into football. Sorry, like I saw the clips that were being shared, and like to see somebody like a man Gary Neville then having the cheek to refrain to Mika Richards that he was getting emotionally over the top in terms of stuff. Fuck me, this fella is an absolute clown, right? He's a beyond the clown. 1 minute he's emotional. 1 minute he's telling the owners to go out, telling the fans to invade the pitch and take out the owners and everything like this. Next minute, then he's celebrating because they went out and signed £billions and they are back. Now it's like it's not good enough. The manager has to go. The manager has to stay. This fella is being
all while joining Labour and deciding he wants to go into politics.
Yeah, he's been held up as a bastion of intelligence in England. If that's the bastion of intelligence in England, no wonder they're in the shit heap that they're in. Seriously, like this is symbolic of
I like McCoist. I have to say I like McCoist. I've seen McCoist do stuff on ITV and most recently Sky. He actually done the Old Firm Derby a couple of weeks ago, and he was excellent. And then I actually watched. I think he might have done Rangers Dortmund from Ibrox last week, and he does do that feel. Like he was saying, like there was one incident where the ball comes out of the box, Rangers get it, and they go to play a diagonal in behind, and they're flagged for offside. Morella's is off, Rangers is called, and straight away McCoy goes, you see, that's what he shouldn't be doing. He needs to get out quicker. His players are working for him, and he does give that insight into what a player's doing, if he's lazy, if he's this, and why he's doing it, and what he needs to do to get out of it. I like McCoy's, but for me, it's just gone to the stage where it's just entertainment. It's not insight anymore, and insight
show business.
Listen,
it's not even show business. It's clickbait. It's set up to. They're basically it's tabloid coverage, right? It's headline. It's the old-fashioned tabloid headline red tops that used to exist before papers died, right? That's essentially what it is, and it's just now in media form because this is what then gets the clicks. This is what gets people to look at the videos on social media so that they can sell their advertising, which comes on before and after the things. That's all it is. There's no insight. Why anybody would watch a pre-match or a post-match thing anymore outside of wanting to hear the interviews with the managers, and half of them give you nothing. Right, in terms of what's there, I like if you wanted to see a step change in how football is presented or how football, it needs one station to actually go and take the up and coming young managers that may have missed out on a job or something like that, where they've been sacked, and they come in for 3 to 5 months and they're able to bring that level of intelligence and analysis that isn't there, because these lads have never been around that type of stuff. They don't know how the game is being coached. They don't know the way anything is being set up anymore, and they're still talking about 4-4-2s and 4-2-3s and all this type of stuff, when in reality they're only base formations. Like, I think one of the most insightful pieces of scene was actually, somebody's mentioned the Slaven Bilic, where he's talking about the way our fullbacks play, and his head is blown at the way at their ability, not so much to what they do in the attacking phase of the game, which is amazing, but their ability to also play in the defensive phase of the game, and it is a weakness. And he's saying the difference is when you look at Chelsea, or you look at and this was before the Chelsea Cup final, he says Chelsea play the same way using wing backs, but they're playing with 3 centre backs to give them the coverage. And he says they've got Kante and they've got Kovacevic, and he's breaking it down for you to say this is why this Liverpool team is not just good for now. It's one of the age's great teams in terms of the style of play and the way they want to play, and in the way they're allowing it to do, because all the teams are conceding the width to the fullbacks all the time in the pitches. That's analysis. That's intelligence, and that brings something new to it. It makes you want to tune in.
But they're not there to analyse anymore. They're not there to give an insight. What they're there to do is they're basically teaming them up now. Like you say, you see this Roy Keane, Michael Richards thing. You see Neville Carragher. And then you'll see they'll drop Souness in because he'll drop a bomb on any of them. He doesn't give a fuck who they are. Like, he'll literally pick Carragher up by the throat if he has to. The sort of way. But what they're doing is they're teaming them off with each other and then letting the ball roll. The sort of way. And listen, BT I know better, but I just, Roy Keane is my loser because I think he's actually falling into the trap of what Sky has become. That's just what it is. Yeah. We have to fly through the last 4 because we've taken an hour to do them. Fucking 4. My God. Keith, we're back to you.
Have to look at the format of this going forward.
Loser of the week.
Bruno Lage and Wolves. I think the first week we done this, I picked Wolves as my winner because they were on a nice run and they were positioning themselves. Phil is smiling because Phil said they were going to fall to shy. They were positioning themselves nicely, and they haven't won a game since then.
Guess it did.
Bruno Lage came out at the weekend and absolutely Paolo Di Canio fucking Keane Hoover under the bus. He tore them and knew him about how, he does it. If you're not going to prepare, you're going to pick up injuries. The attitude is, he absolute lambasted him. And look, you can look at that 2 ways. You can say, like, he's fucking a young player under the bus. What's he playing at? Or, if the young player is not really putting in the effort, you have to pull them up on it. Wolves fans have split on it. I was looking at it. Some of them are saying there's a lot more than Keane Hoover that's doing it, but he's absolutely fucked them under the bus, and he's gone from hero to villain in no time for me. So yeah, that's more just to put my hand up on that. Got that one wrong, so don't ever listen to my predictions.
Well, you predict Liverpool to score 5 or 6 every week anyway.
So
you know what I mean. Dicko, who would you got? You done a loser the last time, did you? Yeah, winner. Watford. Who's your winner?
It's not my internet provider anyway.
No. You can get this lead, Dicko, that runs from the router into your laptop, and I might go in the house next week.
Well, come around the corner, Dicko.
I'll just appear in a minute. My winner is Eddie Howe. I hope I don't. This isn't a similar kiss of death, but I mean, when he came to Newcastle, obviously they were in dire straits. I think I seen they had 5 points. I think they had 11 games gone, and he's now steered them to the heady heights of 14th place. I mean, they look like they've kind of got themselves out of the mire. Obviously, still, 12 games to go or something along those lines, 10, 12 games to go. But no, he a fair play. I mean, he obviously took that time out of football after Bournemouth, kind of bided his time, had his rest. Was quite surprised he didn't get a gig, very quickly, to be honest with you, because I thought the job that he did over the years with Bournemouth was a great one. But he's managed to go to Newcastle. What's the name of his right hand man who obviously took over from him at Bournemouth for a while? But he's brought him with him. He's obviously his trusted right hand man, and between them, they've done a good job. And at a time when we all wonder about the power shift between Liverpool and Everton, there could be in terms of a shift in the millions. It could be that Newcastle are the team that are on the up, and who knows where Chelsea's millions will disappear. So who knows what things will look like in 5 years' time. But he's gonna potentially go down in history as someone who's managed to save them, and as they'll may look back on it in 5 years' time, they'll say that was a massive turning point for us, as well as the fact that they're going to have all of these gazillions to spend in the future.
I think
my issue with the Eddie Howe show is what happens during the week before the game, and his inability to have any type of backbone when it came to the Saudi Arabian situation in terms of invading their neighbours, when the question that was posed to him. In the press conference,
he's never going to say anything.
No, and Eddie Howe isn't.
Of course he's not. Of course not, because there's a good chance he get butchered by the owners.
Yeah,
like
but
that's what happens.
Eddie Howe's a football manager. He's not there to fucking answer about Saudi Arabia invading.
He's a football man.
Well, Gav, this is the problem now. You can't separate when you have UEFA and FIFA banning all the Russian clubs and the Russian international team. You can't just go, well, we have to park it now because we're going to talk about the Premiership. The Premiership is better. We can't, because it's the same with the Manchester City thing, right? Again, there's a whole range of mad human rights issues that exist in the Premier League that people just park. Think about the Chelsea fans chanting for Roman Abramovich during when they're trying to show a strength for Ukraine.
Yeah, I get
it's
that.
Disgusting.
I get that, but hold on a minute. Eddie Howe is employed by these people, right? Okay, and Eddie Howe is a manager of Newcastle United. Mm-hmm. All right. Now, I understand there is limitations on what he can say because they are the owners. But at the end of the day, I'm sorry, but if I'm a journalist, and this is where it's all this goes back to the fact, the hyping everything up and getting away from football. Right, it's the same as two fellas sitting in a studio and going on fucking stupid, right? As a fella that's meant to be a journalist walking into St. James's Park or their training ground, and instead of asking, how are you building up for the game this weekend, or what do you think it is, what do you make of fucking Saudi Arabia? It's like, if I'm listening to an interview with Jurgen Klopp, I don't want to know what he thinks of this country or that country or anything else, right? I'm not saying they're not important, but what I want to hear about from Jurgen Klopp as Liverpool's football manager is that he's answering questions on football, right? If they don't want to do that, send Kay Borley from Sky down into the Access Centre or into Newcastle's training ground and ask them all the questions they want. But this is what I don't get. People go, oh, well, he didn't say this and he didn't say... But hold on a minute, he's a fucking football manager. And it's all just come out. And the big thing to come out with is, oh, we didn't answer about this and he didn't answer about that. He doesn't have to.
I thought Amanda Staveley, I thought was worse with her sort of comments.
Yeah. But she's like, again, she is probably the most has the least amount of scruples that you're going to come across anyone that's involved in the league, given what's involved. Like, if she's turning around and saying it's terrible that man should have the club taken off, she's probably missing the point that there's economic sanctions being put across the place. Like, honestly, Gav, you can say that, but at the end of the day, if you're going to be recognising Ukraine before the games and all that type of stuff that was going on at Newcastle, the hypocrisy that exists purely because their owners are the same ones that are invading somebody else's country, it's going to come up in a press conference and you're going to have an answer for it that's better than what was used.
So why don't
nobody cares about Yemen?
So why don't he contact someone at the club that's responsible for the ownership of Newcastle United and ask them that question?
He's the face of the club. The manager is the face of the club.
He's the face of the club. So what happens if America go into the Ukraine tomorrow or into Russia and start bombing people, right? Should Jurgen Klopp sit there tomorrow, right, and say your owners are American and America have gone in there? What do you think of that? Should Jurgen Klopp do that? Will you fucking stop it? And John was saying there, I'm not having that. If he's happy to take the money, he should be asked some very awkward questions, right? The point that they're asking him the question, why don't you have the balls to go and ask these people? Why don't he go and have the ball? No, hold on a minute. Why don't you have the balls? Hold on a minute. He's not the representative of the club. He's the manager of the football team, right?
Of Saudi Arabia.
Okay, he's managing Newcastle United. He's not managing fucking Saudi Arabia or anything like that. He's not the representative of the club. The representative of the club is Amanda Staveley and whoever else came in as the face of Newcastle United. Because you remember, right, when he took over, Amanda Staveley and two other blokes, I think it was, were standing there. Hold on, they were, Phil, because I seen it. You didn't watch it. You don't watch any of this stuff. So these Amanda Staveley and two fellas are standing there with the Newcastle thing, and they are the face. They are the face of Newcastle United, right? They're the face of Newcastle United, right? So why don't these people? Hold on a minute. Why isn't this fella sitting in the Newcastle Chronicle or whatever the fuck it's called, right? Going in there and saying, "Listen, I tell you what, I don't want to talk to Eddie Howe because you know what? And football's not important here. I want to know about Saudi Arabia, which quite rightfully he should. But what's the point in asking Eddie fucking Howe? Go in and knock at the door in Newcastle. Go, listen. Remember them three cunts that were on the fucking pitch here when you took over? Can I go up and talk to them now? Because I want to know what's going on with Saudi Arabia and any other country. And they won't. It's because the easiest thing to do is walk in and pick on the manager. Because he's meant to know everything about Saudi Arabia.
Picking on the manager.
Right? Yes.
Picking on the manager.
Yes, he is. He's picking on the fucking manager.
Eddie Howe isn't in a position of strength there either that he can go and start
ridiculous.
saying, look, I'm going to lash these out because I don't agree with them. He'd be played P45 in the morning if he did. So there's probably a bit of self-preservation by him as well.
But Keith, when you take the job, you know what you're facing into. And if you haven't done your homework to understand that this type of stuff is going to come at you, right? And have some type of answer that is more than on just focusing on the coaching and the playing of the football.
So what do you want him to do? Do you want Eddie Howe then to turn around and go, listen, there's no training today because I need to go upstairs here and I need to ask these three people to fucking get on to Saudi Arabia and explain to me what's going on. I need to know because I'm going to be asked these questions when I get down into a fucking press conference. Is that what you want him to do?
What if you had to turn around and say, there's no point in asking me these questions. You need to direct them at Amanda Staveley, who owns the club, because she's
this is what I'm talking about. These are football journalists, Phil. These are football journalists walking in to a fucking football club for a press conference and asking questions about something going on in Saudi Arabia or another country that they're gone into. This is a football journalist, Phil. This isn't fucking, this isn't some bleeding political, correspondent walking in. This is a fella walking in. This is like the Newcastle version of James Pearce walking in and asking the question.
It's oversimplifying it again.
It's not oversimplifying it, Phil.
Modern football is involved in more than just football. Because the amount of money that's gone in behind it is symptomatic to why they get the money in the first instance. The journalists are right to go after it. They should go after every single angle they can over the Saudi ownership that's there.
So I'll tell you what to do. I'll tell you what you should do then. When they go into this, why aren't you requesting or Newcastle, right, are protecting Eddie Howe and saying, listen, we'll answer all them questions because you're managing the football side. We're in here. Yes, there's issues in our country. And why is Eddie Howe being the one fronted up for this? Why aren't they calling in and saying, listen, we won't ask any questions. Is there anybody at this club today that can answer these questions that I have? As a football journalist, I want to know about the political situation in Saudi Arabia. Is there anybody here that can answer these questions? And it'd be a lot more damaging for Newcastle to go, no, there's not. Okay, that's fine. Because we've wanted to answer these questions and you're refusing to answer them.
Gav.
Darren Dunbar says the journalists still accept the free hospitality when reporting at St. James's, and it's two-faced. And it's very true. Do you ever hear the journalists talking about the food they get in the Etihad? How it's like being in a Michelin star restaurant. You know what I mean? So they'll report on what they want to report and they won't report on the other. I'm not. Look, football is the world of hypocrisy. Nobody gives a shit once their team is winning, right? Exactly, but going back to your point, Gav, Jogee was prepared to stand up and give social edicts during the time when it was about taking vaccines and all that type of stuff that was going on. And we had no issue with him doing it because, do you know why? Because we support what he's saying and we think he's a great man and he's got a fantastic brain that's sitting there. All I'm saying is, me as the manager, if I'm Eddie Howe, I know that this is going to happen, right? I have some type of get out of jail card that gets me over without making it look like I'm just ignoring what's going on and I'm ignoring the question, because that makes him look weak and that leaves them open to what was going on.
I think
the manager has to have
so basically what you're saying is that a football journalist turns up and asks this question, right? Which I don't think should go to Eddie Howe. I think you should have the balls to ask someone. He shouldn't be asking anyway. He's a football journalist.
Maybe he did.
Right? But well, if he did, why
Apparently
isn't he
not a
telling people that he
football
did? You
journalist.
know he didn't. You know he didn't, right? And so Eddie Howe is now sitting here and he's having this question thrown at him by a football journalist about political issues in Saudi Arabia or beyond, right? And then you have Newcastle watching this stuff going on and not doing anything about it. So Eddie Howe, right, is going to be pinned by both of these entities, right? Journalists and the owners of the club, and he's to sit there and take that. And we all think that Eddy Howe is the one that should answer this. Do you know
Which goes back
Phil,
to the point.
if you like you turn around tomorrow and decide, but it'd be like you turn around tomorrow and deciding that I'm going to ring Gav Doyle because he'll tell me everything about Ukraine, ins and outs. It's a ridiculous fucking thing to do, is to ring me and ask me about the ins and outs of Ukraine. But why not? Should fucking ask him. It makes no sense to me. And I'm not saying Eddie Howe. I'm not saying Eddie Howe is blameless in all this, because he does take a job from Newcastle and they have got this going on. That's absolutely no problem with that. But I can't understand for the life of me why these people don't A, do their job and ask football questions, or B, ring that mate that's the political correspondent to get him to join him at St. James's Park and walk in and request the people that need to answer the actual questions. Eddie Howe's not going to give you any in-depth thing. You know that. So it's a lazy thing to do by asking.
Well, look,
Pep Guardiola got lashed out for wearing a yellow badge, didn't he, in political support for what happened in Catalonia.
Seeing as Phil's torpedoes Eddie Howe, I've got a second pick, and that second pick is Big Joe Walsh. Going to give him a shout out, Gav.
Got one last night as well.
4 winners out of the last 6 golfing tournaments. The man's on fire.
Subscription service coming
back
soon.
out tipping again. Back out tipping today as well.
Yeah, he never stops.
Need to be on it.
Day and night, Big Joe Walsh. Rumours is he has all the data all over the house. You know, that's just
it's analytics, isn't it?
Do you know, like the video printers? You know the video printers? He's unplugged all the tellies in the house. Just has video printers now, just printing out golf data that he can read up on, and the missus isn't too happy. Look, a couple of people in there are agreeing with me, agreeing with Phil, whatever. But I just
that's the basis of what the show's about. It's about debate.
It's about debate. Yeah, it absolutely is. And listen, I'm not saying in any way Newcastle are right in what they've done, or Eddie Howe was right to take that job. But I just find it
down now, Gab. Stick with it.
No. I don't listen.
Oh shit!
I can't
believe I gave you it now here, and we're back onto this.
There's more chance of Eddie Howe actually keeping the job if they go down for me, than staying up. That's the funny thing.
Yeah,
right?
It's probably a fair point, because he's only gonna take them so far, and then the sexy manager comes in, the proper big hitter comes in. Hopefully not Jurgen Klopp in 5 years' time.
Yeah.
Here's a question though, Gav. If you were a journalist, would you go to the Saudis and ask them any questions?
What sort of journalist?
Any type of journalist.
A political journalist.
Football journalist. Would you?
Well, if I was a political correspondent in the UK in that area, and you want to know about Saudi Arabia, I wouldn't be asking Eddie fucking Howe. There'd be more chance of me asking Eddie Howe for the bus timetable.
Would you happily go into their embassy now and ask them a few questions?
Yeah.
You would, yeah?
Yeah, I'd happily go to Newcastle United as a political correspondent.
No, would you go
and ask questions? Why would I go into the embassy? Why would I go into the embassy? These people are at Newcastle United. Why would I be going into the embassy? This is what I'm saying. It's a lazy narrative, and ask questions by all means. But listen, if you want stupid answers, ask stupid questions, and ask them to the wrong people. And that's Eddie Howe. Ask them to the people at Newcastle.
Well, it'd be better if Eddie Howe just said, but we're not going to do the thing on the Ukraine because it's a bit hypocritical. So I don't think we should do it as a thing, but we support the Ukraine as a team group or a fan group, because that kills the whole narrative that sits there, and it's very hard for the journalists to bounce back off that one.
Christopher Carroll says, why does Dicko have a resemblance to Ralph Rangnick?
Ralph Rangnick, yeah.
There you go.
Yeah. Hey, listen, Gav, the only embassy you've ever gone into is a pack of 20.
That's it, mate. And listen, the prices nowadays, you never know. We have to knock them on the head. Back to the Rotmans. Where are we? Phil, I think it's your loser of the week.
My loser of the week is Cristiano Ronaldo. Like, we've been bouncing around the topic. We've talked about Roy Keane and the whole lot. But lads, let's think about it this way, right? United signed Ronaldo. So basically, Gary Neville had a little shit fit, right, and gave out that the owners wouldn't spend money. They went and spent 100 trillion, billion, zillion, billion, million pounds on players, including signing Cristiano Ronaldo on £10 million a week, right? and he scored less goals than Takumi Minamino, right? So he's going out there. He's had no impact in the big games.
What do you make of that at the weekend, though? Comes out fairly late that he's not playing.
I think he'd be better off getting his missus out to play for them at this stage. She'd show more about her than he would. Honestly, it's fantastic.
And then there's claims in the background, by the way, that he was left out, and apparently his sister liked an Instagram post from somebody saying that he'd been left out, and it's all kicked off because of that as well.
I think it's phenomenal. I just think it's absolutely fun. Like, you know, the way they were dreaming about him coming back. They've again, the United fans have gone down the rabbit hole that we existed in for so many years, right?
Yeah.
And I'm just thinking, isn't it just wonderful? It's just wonderful to see it just go so badly. It's like this is what would happen had Coutinho come back to Liverpool. Like this, it would just all fall apart. Like this is exactly what happens when you bring somebody back that's well past it, and then give him more wages than absolutely anyone else in the Premier League. It's outrageous. But it's wonderful.
They brought a 36-year-old player back and literally gave him the keys of the car and said, "Do what you want." Took the number 7 shirt off Edison Cavani to give to him, and that might seem like small, but that's an egomaniac saying, "I want everything. I'm coming back here." And they all fell in that. Tiernan McVeigh says that bleeding sushi. I hate that. They're nearly short the fucking trademark and that and making it a thing. Like, it's been an unmitigated disaster, that transfer. That transfer window. Jadon Sancho will come good. That Ronaldo will be the death of them for a few years now. Yeah. Thanks be to God.
And it was all designed, wasn't it, to stop City from signing him as well. That's the irony of it. And City have you know, hopefully they don't win the league, but I mean, it's hardly been to the detriment of Manchester City, has it?
Yeah,
I could see where City were going with Ronaldo.
Yeah,
it doesn't have to walk a lot. They pin teams in. They have 60-70% possession, and they love this whole getting in the end line and clipping balls back and playing balls back. And Ronaldo would live off that all day long for them. But the United thing, the way they play, especially under Solskjaer, was like sit back, hit it on the break. And Ronaldo, although he's like he used to be really, really fast. He's not a slouch by any means, but he doesn't want to be running channels on the break, and he doesn't want to be doing all that. And it just made no sense. And now when you see like even the likes of Elanga, and you see Sancho, and they're starting to nearly come into their own a little bit. I'm not saying results wise, but a little bit starting to come into their own and have their own impact on games, or putting their own style on games in periods. And it's when he's not in the side, because everything is played to him, except the biggest thing is they're not willing to play high up the pitch and dominate a game, and that's what Ronaldo needs. It's madness, and the talk is now that he won't stand in his way if he wants to walk away this summer. You know,
he's 47 years old. Like, could any of you run channels at 30? I'd rather run away from a bear down Coronation Street than run channels.
I couldn't change the channel. I was 37. I couldn't change the channel. Never mind run a fucking channel. You know what I mean? I just think it's insane.
If he'd have gone to Man City, he wouldn't have been calling the shots. He'd have had a coach, manager that would have put him in his box early on. And Ronaldo probably would have played to that, and it would have been, you know, he would have been part of a squad. Instead, he went in there and you says he destroyed that dressing room. He went in.
But Jono says he got 30 goals for City as a finisher. He would have.
But it's the mad thing about this, and it's not just Ronaldo is just a symbol of how badly run United is at this point in time, right? Because you have Pogba there, who's been trying to leave for 3 years at this stage, right? And they didn't capitalise, they didn't cash in, and now potentially he walks away in a very small transfer or no transfer at all, right? They bring in Ronaldo completely on the basis that he's going to, and on the guarantees that he plays wherever he wants, starts whenever he wants, he never has to run and all this type of stuff. It's the most dysfunctional team. They spent 180 million on Harry Maguire, right? Like he like basically he's bear bait. He can't turn. Like if you have a crocodile and a bear are both going to have a chase to see who can get to him.
He's not.
He can't turn.
No.
He's not. The only option he has with the bear is to try and launch his concrete head at the bear and hope that it works somehow.
He doesn't play for Manchester United. If he's signed for 30-40 million, whatever amount of seasons ago it was, 2019 was it? I think he's not at United now. It's simply doubling down on the fact that it's 80 million quid. There's no
worst transfer ever.
I just think anyway. I could have picked United as the losers of the week. You pick anyone, right? But Ronaldo to me is just a symbol of everything that's gone wrong there. And it's almost like the cherry on how bad things have been run since Ferguson has left. It's an imploding. It's a house of cards, and every time they get the house of cards just gradually built back up to where it looks like something's going to happen, the wind comes along and knocks it down. Like, think about it like this. Last year, they finished runners-up in the league. They think they're going, like, if you look at all the tips for who's going to win the league, they're in there, and there's people tipping them to win the league. And they
most pundits don't have us in top 4.
Now, they basically blew their shit up for no reason to bring Ronaldo back. They alienated Rashford. They've alienated your man Martial. They never know how to develop him. That fella was a potential world-class player, and just because it's been so badly run, they didn't achieve what they could have got out of him. And they paid a lot of money for him as well. They've fucking Sancho may as well have taken a year off, gone around to India just to find himself and do a bit of yoga and stuff like that, because he's wasting his time at United. Pogba was the best player in the world when he signed for United, and he's become just a mid-table midfielder. If he was playing for West Brom at the moment, he wouldn't stand out. That's what he's become, right? They spend 100 billion on Harry Maguire. David De Gea was the best goalkeeper in the world, and gradually became the shit goalkeeper, and he's just getting back to being good again because he has to stay with so many shots. Like, he basically has to deal with so many shots.
Another one that they basically put up on a pedestal, Wan-Bissaka. And
Wan-Bissaka was a poor man's version of Nathaniel Clyne. Like, that's basically what they signed, right? Now, Clyne had more about him than Wan-Bissaka had. It's unbelievable. It's unbelievable.
The system with Luke Shaw.
Yeah,
Christopher Carroll says, I think he's right. He says it was to take the pressure off the owners as United fans were protesting. Then they all buy a Ronaldo shirt and line the pockets of the owners, and they were protesting against.
So they'll be back out. I guarantee you now.
Oh no, I've no doubt about it. I've no doubt about it. You'll see.
They bought Ronaldo. They bought Sancho. They bought Varane. And this is the state of them now. Sancho was one they've been chasing for 2 years. He looks okay at the moment. He's starting to come into a bit of form. They bought Ronaldo, who's their golden boy, and then they bought Varane, who is, everyone could tell you Varane is an injury-prone defender who needs to play beside a dominant centre-back, because he always played beside a dominant centre-back. He's not the dominant one, and they're stuck with Harry Maguire because they paid 80 million for him, and it's just mistake. All through the squad. Every single part of that squad is an absolute shit show. Scott McTominay was the youth player that comes through, and he's like, yo, Scott McTominay, he's getting his arse tore out of him now as well. Like, there's nothing in that club that you're looking at, you know.
But it's even
falling from grace. Everything about it.
It's even if you look at the circumstances, right? It comes out quite late that Ronaldo won't play. The rumor is Cavani trained for 3 days before the game and then wasn't playing. Right. Then they go out and they get beaten, and like I seen something earlier. In the last 10 minutes of the game, Man City had 92% possession.
Yeah, 92%.
Right?
Shocking. How the fuck did they only get 8%?
Right, in the last 10 minutes of the game. Right. Why is Scott McTominay out doing these interviews? And this goes back to the time. Do you remember when Arsenal were in shit and Aubameyang was the captain and he wasn't doing interviews? I think they get beaten that way at West Brom or something like that. And they've young fellas out doing interviews. The club captain's nowhere to be seen. Now, why isn't Harry Maguire out there going, listen, none of you are doing interviews after this game. None of you. I'll do them. I'm the club captain. I'll fucking do the interviews. And Scott McTominay is out doing the interviews. I know he's played a load of games. What's funny?
Red Steve shout that Maguire should wave his cock at Varane to assert his dominance.
Okay, we're asserting a lot of dominance with cocks tonight. But that's where your leaders come in. That's where your club captain comes in. You know, and says, I'm doing all the interviews, I'm taking them, you don't go out there. And I know Scott McTominay probably has 100 games, you know, it's somewhere around that, maybe. But he shouldn't be out there. And this is what it's all about for me. They talk about leaders, and they don't have any leaders. None. Zero. None. They've none, right? They don't have a system that they want to play. They don't have the bravery to play a system that would mean that they would take control of a game and get the best out of a Sancho, a Rashford, or Ronaldo. They don't have that. And it just keeps going around and around. And what comes out today? Oh, statements from players saying they're sorry, right? Which we know happens all the time. And then on top of that, you have the likes of Neville turning around going, oh, well, you know, a new dawn is coming for United with a new director of football and this was a proper look at the Glazers and Woodward. This was a proper goodbye to them. And I'm like, do you think the Glazers are going away here? You know, there's a load of money being spent there, and the total sum of what you have there is no leaders that haven't got enough quality, bravery, or plan. It's as simple as that. And Ronaldo is a massive part of it. A massive part of it.
Gav, as I will have to feed the child very soon, can I just make an honourable shout on winners of the week to Manchester City for increasing the commercial revenues by 100 million and taking the top spot in the English league? I just wanted to say fair play to them. That's amazing. They have their corner flags sponsored by a company they own. They have the Lions sponsored by somebody that they own, and it's just amazing that they make over 100 million more than any other team in England. It's phenomenal. Well,
next achievement will be to try and sell out the stadium consistently. That'll be
to sell out every week.
Put more of the Hardens around. See the way they're now doing double.
Four tiers of Harden.
I reckon John Delaney is the man who
counts the bright lights and all. I'd say the ball boy and the stewards are going to have epileptic fits because they've laid at these bright lights shining in their face and all.
And all of these ads there, I don't know if you've noticed, but I've never heard of any of these people who are sponsoring these. I mean, they're just complete shell companies. They're just ghosts.
They're just pretending companies. Pretending companies. You like Gav going in and just setting up a load of limited companies and just saying, they sponsor this sponsors the Daytrippers and this sponsors the Daytrippers, this sponsors the Daytrippers. Yeah.
No one knows them. No, you don't do websites. They're not that sort of crowd.
It's just random crap.
Did he have social media? No, they're not mad into the socials either. They just go about their business. Don't be worried about them.
It's an international hotel group with no website.
Yeah. No, you don't like. It's more word of mouth that you get. They take bookings over.
They're advertising. They're actually advertising this new city that's being built up in the middle of the desert.
Gotham City, is it? But it's
Anna Delvey's going to be their next PR.
It's mad, and like you said, Phil, it'd be like us taking on sponsors and just going, listen, it's a hotel group, but you basically have to fill out your details and send it to this PO box, and they'll come back to you then to let you know if you have a room anywhere. They don't know where the room is, but they'll let you know.
It's on 617 on teletext. If you put your teletext on, you'll be able to get
and you have to wait till it goes around to page 48 of 63, and if you miss it, don't worry, it'll be back in about 3 hours when it comes back around again. Remember doing that for the holidays? I remember being mad doing that for the holidays.
Cheap holidays.
Yeah. I'm after missing the page. Oh, for fuck's sake, you have to wait for it to come back around. We leave it there. We
never got to speak about International Pro Tour footvolley. So let's finish on this then. So I spent 4 hours watching this at the weekend. Right?
You sent me a video today which was 5 years old, and I thought
I was trying to.
This was like the Red Shield one that was 5 years old as well, Phil. I think you're on Dicko's Wi-Fi. I think you're using his fucking password.
No, but I was sitting there. I was watching NBC Chicago or Sports Chicago. And I was just like, "What's going on?" I was just watching. And I said, "What's this?" So I thought it was beach volleyball to start with. It wasn't. It's foot volley. And it's a pro tour. They're paid to do this, Gav. Paid. You are paid to do this.
It's volleyball using your feet.
You can't use your hands. You can only touch it 3 times when it comes over the net as well, right? So you can't just keep holding up. But they have this thing that just drew my mind. It's the shark attack. So the fella launches himself at the net, and just instead of whacking it with your foot, they hit it with the base of the foot and slam it down like it's a hand. It's amazing. It was 4 hours watching it. Then I found out that this is huge in Brazil. Because it went down a rabbit hole.
It was hardly fucking huge in Dollymount. Go on.
Yeah.
And there's in December this year, Ronaldinho and Romario, Keith, you like this, had an exhibition, foot volley pro tour exhibition in Rio de Janeiro, where they had one team. Romario was on one team and Ronaldinho was on the other team, and it was made up of a load of ex-pros, right? And Ronaldinho is in some nick for a fella who's whatever age is, he's 40 something, and Romario, who's about 60, is in some nick as well, and he was playing. So the two of them got to play off. There's another one due. So Gav, I sent you the links because Ronaldinho was putting this up on his feed, and it showed there's one. It just shows the beauty of foot volley, and it's just immense. And for me, that to me was the best thing of the whole weekend. But then,
you know what you should. Ronaldinho and Romario doing that. You should look up. Go onto the Google there, Phil, and look for Keith Duffy and Brian McFadden. They've made a band together, and if you go and look for them, you'll get. That's another rabbit hole for you.
Oh my God! Was that the video we seen the other day?
Yeah,
Oh,
boys'
my
life or whatever that
Jesus
called.
Christ.
Go on, Gav, stick it up there. Somebody said about balloon Olympics. I'm still chasing up the rights to the balloon Olympics, but I think Manchester City might have already signed a sponsorship today with them for 10 billion for next season.
I'm sure we'll get the clips for you somewhere. I know where I'll post them. I'll post them in our Telegram group.
I sent you Ronaldo's tweets.
Yeah, I know. I'll send them into the group for people to read.
Put it in Discord.
Oh, no, it's not in Discord anymore. We're in the Telegram group. The lads know better. And lassies. Right, we're going to leave it there. That has been Winners and
Discord
this week. Yeah, there is Discord there, but we don't really use it. Can we not do this now? Thanks.
Yeah.
That has been it for the winners and losers this week. Don't forget, as you can see on screen throughout the show, Féileacáin is our charity partner. We're looking to get them to 10k. We're currently just gone past 3k, I think. When we get all our sponsorship money in, which is very close to coming in now, we'll get close to 3.5k. So we've 6.5k to go in around 3 months. So if you can donate, look in the link in the description and you can do that. If you can't, please share it amongst friends, family and wherever else, and we're going to do our best in the next 3 months to get as many people as we can to donate. And if we have to go and do some stupid mad things to try raise money, we will as well. Don't worry about it. I'm looking at Phil, I'm looking at Keith, I'm looking at Dicko, and anyone else I can get my hands on as well, to be perfectly honest with you. I was going to say enjoy the rest of your night. It's about 28 fucking minutes left of it. We've taken up loads of it. But tomorrow, Liverpool play Inter Milan. I should be back at 2 tomorrow with the Cup update. And we will be back after the game with a full-time Reds. And we'll take it from there. Phil, thanks a million. Dicko, thanks a million. Keith, thanks a million. That has been the winners and losers. Thanks a million to everyone.
The Bears. The Bears were the winners tonight. The Bears proved that they're masters.
The Bears were the winners. And... Jeez, if this conversation gets out, Eddie Howe is in serious fucking issues when he goes into work tomorrow. That's all I'd say. But listen, that's what it's all about: debate and opinion. Check out the Boys Life, the Boys Life video on the internet. It's absolutely fantastic stuff. We leave you with that. Over and out.